So let's see. So I'm Josh Brickman. I work for CA Technologies, formerly CA Inc., formerly Computer Associates. We are continuously searching for the name that people will remember. And 2 years ago when I presented here, I had at least 3 people say, "Oh, I thought this was a state of California presentation." And so we're trying desperately. We're going the whole combination of an acronym that means nothing in combination with something to get people excited. And I'm here with Mary Utt from the Paciello Group, which is Mike Paciello's organization. Mike is the chair of the conference. Next slide. Okay, so a little bit more about CA besides the funny name. We are 5th largest independent software vendor in the world, and it's important to say software because we don't have any hardware components for anything that we do, and so there are companies that would be, if we said it's independent technology vendor, it'd be a different number or something, but it's really based on just software. We have hundreds of products that we still sell and support, and we'll get into that a little bit more. TPG is actually, in my opinion, probably one of the best accessibility consultancies that I've ever worked with and that I've ever heard of in the business. In fact, Mike used to be the co-chair of the 508 committee. He is obviously the chair of the conference, and they work with technology companies, not just software companies, to help them achieve accessibility compliance and solve accessibility issues. CATPG is ingrained in our process, and they are, Mary is involved very actively in the approval of voluntary product accessibility templates, which are the government forms you have to submit to show compliance or lack thereof of your products. Next slide. So I actually run CA Technology's Federal Certification Program office, and we're under, from an organizational perspective, we're sort of a service-based organization. We provide processes and methodologies, policies and procedures around not just accessibility, but other, or what CA likes to call federal certifications, which are really anything the government requires to have done before they will buy your product. But as we know, accessibility goes much broader than just U.S. government procurement. But this is sort of how our office maps out. I work very closely with the product teams, but as a sort of a shared resource. So we're sort of set up and siloed a bit by business unit. So say the security business unit or the infrastructure management, cloud, or whatever mainframe. And I work with those guys to help them achieve their goals. We help them achieve the accessibility goals primarily through get a little wire space here, through training and help desk services, which means that teams are really responsible for their own work. And as their products become close to whatever certification they might be going for, something either external or a self-cert like accessibility, we help them review that and provide support. Next slide. So the goals that I've set for the accessibility program is that we're really committed to not just to the U.S. but globally to go above and beyond the standards. And we want to become a recognized leader, which is why we do conferences like this. In fact, I was just up in San Francisco at the RSA Security Conference presenting in a booth on the expo floor, an expert talk on CA's accessibility program. So I had a bunch of security geeks sitting there who had absolutely no idea, and we were demonstrating something that we're going to show a little bit of to you today in one of our security products. And the reason why I want to go above and beyond legal requirements will come more clear as we go through this presentation. But that's what our goal has been, is to have a very high bar. So what are the challenges that we face with those goals? Well, as I mentioned before, we have a huge range of products, and those products are on different platforms. We have products that are built on mainframe, that are Unix-based, that are desktop-based. Of course, we have browser-based applications, and running on different types of browsers. And because we are distributed worldwide, it's often difficult to get teams to understand the importance. For example, over in India, that government and the laws around accessibility are way behind sort of the EU and Canada and the US. And so finding people that understand anything about accessibility is actually a real challenge. So we've had to grow that talent internally. We also have CA used to have a terrible reputation around acquiring companies, ripping them apart, spitting out what's left. And we have still been, over the last 5-6 years, been through very much an acquisition mode. But now we actually are really trying to integrate them and use that, you not only utilize the technology and their assets and their customers, but also to try and really work with them to have them improve their own products. So it's no longer just let's see what we can get out of them and then throw the rest in the trash. And you know, we really want to make everything last. We finally we've gotten some products that have really gotten very close or actually achieved compliance. But you want that to last. It's not something that you can just raise your hand and say victory and then not do anything. You have to continue to maintain those processes and continue to make it an effective part of the whole development process. So next slide. So why do we care? Well, you've heard all about the litigation risk, blah, blah, blah. I think that goes without saying. But one of the things that really drives us is competition. Some of the bigger companies that are here, that are in our space, include companies like Oracle and IBM. IBM especially, they do a great job of saying, hey, you want to know the accessibility status of our product? Go onto our website, search for that product, and the VPAT will pop right up, and you can go pull it out. Well, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Right now, with our VPATs, what we'll do is we'll give them to a customer upon request, or a prospect upon request if they sign a non-disclosure agreement. I'm trying to change that culture. It's hard. 14,000 employees, very conservative company, but we're getting there. U.S. government is spending a lot of money on software. That number is actually going up, even despite all the cutbacks. Accessibility compliance is required and going to become even more required. Some of you who went to the Access Board's hearing yesterday, and maybe after this are planning to go and hear more about Section 508, you're going to hear about Section 508 2.0, and I'm telling you, it is more stringent, much more than 508 1.0. Our customers are asking for commitment statements. What does that mean? That means that they want us to stand up and not only show them where we are, but if we're not compliant, they want to know when in a roadmap. And what you need to understand in our business, you don't make commitment statements about anything. Functionality. They ask about feature function. They want to know what release and what date is that coming out. When you make a roadmap commitment, you actually impact what finance has to call recognized revenue. It's a big problem. And yet, when we go to public sector opportunities, our accessibility or lack thereof, depending on the kind of product, can be the determination between whether we're able to participate in a bid or not. We're also seeing, and I've been personally witnessing this, outside of the US, in both Europe and Canada, a demand for accessibility. I recently was on a call with a large bank in Canada, and they're interested in one of the products we're going to show today. And all they wanted to talk about was, what is the status of your product with regards to accessibility? And then we had to walk them through a presentation of our accessibility program and walk them through demos of the product and show them where the gaps were and how we're going to address them. So the private sector is definitely adopting outside of the US, not so much in the US yet. It's coming, but slowly. The other thing that's happening is the DOJ is working on changes to ADA, which things like, this may sound obvious to everybody else, but ADA is not about accessibility of software. It's about accessible wheelchair ramps and things like that. Well, I have to go and talk to people internal to the company and say, if you apply for a job today, you do not fill out a piece of paper. You have to do it online, okay? And that's part of a public piece that's going to be a part of ADA. It's all going to change. It's going to impact us. So this is another reason why we care. So let me give you a little sense of how we got to where we are. Mike Paciello is in the back of the room. My predecessor brought in Mike first to just say, where are we as a company? And so in September of 2006, they came in, they started to assess our products. And it wasn't good. We had done absolutely nothing with regard to accessibility. Within a month or so, we started to generate VPATs, but it wasn't until about a year and a half later where the team, they wrote for us testing standards for accessibility, distributed testing standards. When I say distributed, we have to break that down because we have mainframe products as well. So that would be like web and desktop type products. That gave us a level playing field about how we're actually generating the VPATs and made sure that each one had the quality that they needed to have. At that time, we had a few people in what's called the Center of Excellence in India. They were generating these VPATs, and the Paciello Group was approving them but it was not scaling. I mentioned we have hundreds of products. Training Mary and I actually attended in New York. And by the time we got into the beginning of 2009, we had trained a few hundred people worldwide. TPG went on a worldwide tour. We also did Train the Trainer, where we trained people internally to CA to deliver this kind of training. And then we said, okay, you're now responsible for your own accessibility testing. That was really painful. At that point, we realized we had a huge gap. We didn't have the standards for Unix and mainframe products. So then TPG had to go back in and write in whole other testing standards because it's completely different. A mainframe product we still use, if you've been around a long time, these green screen emulators that connect up to these old systems. And the emulators, out of the box, are not compliant. By the time we got up to March of 2010, I came here 2 years ago and told our story. And at that time, we were proud that we just had testing standards and we were generating VPATs for every product. Then the next thing we said is we need to have a framework so that our products can be built right the first time. So we're partnering with a company called, I think, Sencha. We were able to drive the creation of a 100% compliant web-based framework on the called GXT. That was a big deal. That was rolled out to many, many products. Last year, TPG presented here our story around videos, because what we're doing is we're replacing many of our documentation with online videos. So we had to make sure those were compliant. That means they had to have narration, they had to have transcripts, they had to have captioning, it had to be on an accessible player. This year, what we've been focused on is now that everybody's doing VPATs, how can we make them compliant? So what we asked TPG to do is to come in and start to audit products that were close. Don't bother the ones that are complete failures, but help us to get over the line. And we're going to tell you a little bit about that today. So here I am, March of 2012, back at CSUN. Next slide. So this is the last slide of my presentation 2 years ago, from March of 2010. We said we're going to focus on getting products compliant, integrate the new GXT components into distributed products, focus on compliance versus status, and get TPG integrated with the teams, helping them to get over the line. I'll let you know later how we did. All right, so just to give you a quick snapshot, CA has what we call quality management system. And we actually have this is a snapshot. The top screen snap says CA policy for product non-functional requirements. That is an official policy that says for each of the what we call, sometimes call abilities, what the statuses need to be for each of this. Includes installability, includes internationalization, it includes localization, it includes usability, and includes accessibility. So the status this is this snap on the bottom. For those of you who can't see it, what it says is the core team will ensure that all projects entering P1, which means the approval time for the project, meet level 3 accessibility standards defined in blah, blah, blah. What that means is we're expecting that they're planning to be out-of-the-box compliant upon release. And that's the baseline standard. I actually heard Microsoft say something similar in an earlier presentation, that they have something similar. It was nice to hear that. It's a policy. Next slide. So out of that, I was able to go and mandate that. And so the net impact was any new products and any products that were growing, products that we're continuing to invest in, we were going to go do as much as we can to get them to compliance. Each product team would now have to show in their roadmaps a specific item that showed when they were going to achieve compliance. They still had to do a VPAT before GA, which all have to be reviewed by TPG. And we're looking at WCAG too, because what we did was we said we need to go beyond 508. We knew that the new refresh was coming. So a year and a half ago, I went back to TPG and said, I want our VPATs to show now where we are against WCAG 2, not against 508 1.0. And so we went through a big effort there. So if you look at a CA VPAT, it looks a little bit different because it's actually beyond the criteria. So as of 2010, we had one compliant product to Section 508 1.0. By March or April of this year, we're expecting to have 6. We have 25 plus products that are so close that should get, depending on prioritization, should get there within the next several months. Next slide. Just a quick thing about compliance, if you're not familiar with the terms, with the way the VPATs are set up. To the government, compliance is binary. Either you are 100% compliant to the standard or you're not. They do allow for support through various other standards, and other definitions, like supports with exceptions, which we basically defined as 80%, between 80% and 99% of a particular criterion could be supports with exceptions. We use that for tracking purposes. When you present that to a procurement officer, they still at net say, you're not compliant. But it helps me to show progress. Next slide. Quick snap of the VPAT process. The way it works now, product is developed. New VPAT is needed. It is a part of the development process. It used to be product released, do a VPAT. Now it's create that accessibility template during the process. We do the testing all along, and we're doing agile development. So what we're doing is small bits of testing. The VPAT is an end result. It used to be, it was waterfall. You're waiting till it's all done, and then you generate it. Now you can actually fix defects as you're going through it. When the VPAT is finally done, we throw it into a repository, hand it over to TPG, and we say, please review this and make sure it looks good. 99.9%, it has to go back to the development team to fix it. Even though we have all these standards. They're perfectionists. We like that. It gives less risk. We don't want it, these are legal documents. We don't want anything in there that's going to sound incorrect for it. And we're also asking for TPG to look at evidence. So they're almost like a first-level police for us. If it's approved, we post it into that repository for sales to be able to pull for customers or for prospects. If not, we go through the cycle again. Next slide. This is just a slide of an internal website that a developer or QA person or anybody can go to know the quick step-by-steps. Each of those links go to various standards and documents that we've developed either ourselves or TPG's developed for us or we've done jointly. So it's a very easy, there's so many places for people to be able to go to and know how to do this. And we continue to revise it if we get feedback. This needs to be fixed. This isn't understood. We try to make it as easy as possible for everyone. Next slide. So overall, the benefits of our process, now everything is standardized. We know, we look at things. How are they doing? We get much more visibility. We're interacting with the team. Because we require the proof, we know the testing is really being done. We get a sense of where the accessibility knowledge and gaps are. We have a huge repository of frequently asked questions, and TPG has this online help desk that we also use as well so that they can connect to all of their engineers and bring in, and we can connect that repository as well. And sales now has everything they need to go and talk to the customers. And it's accurate. And you know, as I said, it's getting into the development process. The acquisitions are the hardest ones because they don't always know about it right away. So that's a challenge we have to constantly work through because we're acquiring 4 or 5 companies a year. Next slide. All right, training. A little more, next slide. So what we did with training, I mentioned earlier. We trained developers, primarily with online training, on how to build accessible applications. And then for QA teams, what we're trying to do is not only how to test, but understand how to use the tools. And that's a combination class, hands-on class and online class. And then they also learn all the processes and workflows. Next slide. The accessibility training that we do, is required for anybody that does any front-end development. And for anybody that wants to do VPATs or do accessibility testing, they're also required to get certified. I think it's about 12 hours of online testing, and then another, with the online classroom, is another couple days. And the developers need to go through the online training for QA as well. Next slide. Training results. We've got the train the trainer program. Everything's recorded for the developers, which is great. I mentioned the face-to-face and mix. And I actually feel like now the QA teams are really talking to each other. We've got these chatters where they're really discussing issues and helping each other out, which is great. And the accessibility of the products is improved. Next slide. I think this is the video. Okay. I got a little video to show you to give you a sense of what this online training looks like. And it has audio.
Username : edit. From domain on mouse over button. Environment : combo box AC environment 1 of 3. Go on mouse over button. Full name : edit. Description : edit.
The 4 controls that were just read were all properly announced by JAWS, which indicates that they may be properly labeled. However, JAWS often does a lot of guessing to what the label should be, so if JAWS does announce it, doesn't always mean that the control is properly labeled. For example, these checkboxes here do not have a proper label associated with it. The text next to the checkbox is just text and not marked up as a proper label. But JAWS will still announce it.
Tab operator checkbox not checked. Tab password manager checkbox not checked. Tab server checkbox not checked. Tab ignore holiday checkbox not checked.
This is an example of how JAWS will guess what the label text should be for this checkpoint based on the text surrounding the checkbox. For example, this page contains a text field that is clearly labeled minimum time, but if we tap to it using JAWS, it will announce something different.
Tab insert an integer between 0 and 65,535 edit.
In this case, it announced the form hint, but not the actual label, which means that the page would fail the checkpoint. However, it is important that form hints like these must also be announced by JAWS when the form element receives focus. So both the name and the hints must be announced, otherwise the page fails the checkpoint.
Yeah, so with that is just one little example of the training that was provided as a part of the stuff that we give to the teams. They go through this online training, and then they go to the hands-on class and learn the tools. So they learn the theory behind it first in online modules, then they go in. Now that product that you're seeing right there, that's CA Control Minder. The name just changed, so excuse my. And now you'll see a lot more about CA Control Minder and what Mary's going to talk about, which I'm going to now turn over to you. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
How did you get the executive buy-in to create all these mandates?
How did the question was, how did I get the executive buy-in to get all these mandates? It wasn't easy. We had to do a lot of presentations. It came down to the fact that Mike came in, talked to some of the senior management, Deb Danielson, Robin Longoria, back in the day, And at the time, our development senior vice president, he had come from Symantec, where it had been something that had been a big issue for them. And federal sales actually went to the CEO and asked for support for the accessibility program based upon presentations that I did and my predecessor did to the sales department. So we outreached both to the field and to development, and then we came back and we were able to show example after example of losses due to a lack of any kind of accessibility program. All right, you lost what we were? All right, bear with me here. Right here? This one. Okay. Here you go.
Okay, I'm going to talk more specifically about the actual testing that goes on within CA with the different product development groups. Now that, given all these mandates, as Josh mentioned, TPG has created. Well, first of all, part of the mandate is that you require test plans from all QA teams. And testing for accessibility includes standards that TPG has created that include mainframe, Unix, and distributed web and desktop products. And we have updated the guidelines several times, and the most recent update includes both Section 508 refresh and WCAG 2, giving CA kind of a leg up on the upcoming new updated standards, the harmonization. The testing focuses wholly on manual testing, and this is why the training is so important for the VPAT authors, the QA folks. And this last bit of the slide is an example of a test procedure from the guidelines. They go criterion by criterion for Section 508, and this is one of the test procedures from 1191.21a, keyboard accessibility. In addition to developing the testing guidelines, we created page sampling guidelines. CA does not do exhaustive testing of every single page of the product, but they sample representative pages of the product, and they produce a document with screenshots of the sampled pages. And as the testing goes on, and here are some of the tools and so on that they use, WAT, inspect.exe, color contrast analyzer, and the assistive-technology. I think we're using JAWS 13 and 14 now, Zoom Text 9.1. And upon request, and it's happened a couple of times, testing with Dragon 10.0. So, so the QA folks run through the test procedures, and they also complete a violation report. So if they find defects, missing alt text, lack of keyboard support, and so on, those are recorded in a spreadsheet that we've created for them. One of the challenges of working with CA is that they've acquired so many products. They've also got a wide range of probably every bug tracking system in the world. So we couldn't make our violation report specific to a bug tracking system, but we designed it to feed into whatever bug tracking system the product group uses. So, so the benefits of the testing guidelines or test scripts, consistent testing process, which goes a long way toward ensuring the compliance of the products, raises awareness of accessibility issues among all parts of the group, the product development team, developers, QA folks, whomever. And the QA teams, use the ATs and get some understanding of just what the challenges are that people with disabilities face with the applications. And I think as Josh has demonstrated, they have a pretty high standard, and the testing plays into this standard. So I'm going to run through two examples from CA products and talk about the testing process, the development process to help fix problems, what problems were encountered, and what happened with the VPAT. So the first is Control Minder, which you already saw an example of in the video. This is a security product for access to servers and stuff like that. The users are basically super users. They aren't everyday users. The application has both desktop and web components, and it is currently partially compliant. CA Clarity is a project management tool. We actually use this as part of the internal CA process for creating VPATs. The documents that each VPAT author produces, the violation report, the page sampling document, and the VPAT itself, are all posted to Clarity, which does the content management for us and helps us with its workflow features to sort of chauffeur the VPAT through the process. So, and it has a very different set of, it's a very different application, and it has a very different set of users, because this could be any user. You don't have to be a super user to use Clarity. It also has desktop and web components, and it is also partially compliant. So the first one we're going to look at is Control Minder. And one of the problems we are going to look at, we're going to filter each of these through one problem, is form labeling. And the importance of form labeling is that, as we've seen in the video, that users really have to be able to perceive and understand form controls, or they effectively cannot use the product. They can't, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know how to interact. It's, it's just not perceivable. So, and this is one of the forms that we're going to talk about. This is a very form-heavy product, and but it's a fairly simple form, all in all. Text areas, text input boxes, check boxes, and some fields are required, some are not. So it looks great. I mean, as a sighted user, I say, what could possibly go wrong? Well, quite a lot, as a matter of fact. With the What tool turned on, it turns out that the labeling is not done properly for these forms.
I just wanted to say the WAT tool is a web accessibility toolbar that we get from TPG that is used to generate these kind of behind-the-scenes errors and problems that you can't necessarily see when you see a product. Is that a fair assessment of what it does? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now, as Josh pointed out, the developer training does cover all of these accessibility topics, including label elements. And so the development group has been exposed to why you want to label things properly, some general tips on proper coding of labels, and some best practices such as label placement. Oops. So when the QA folks came along and tested the product, this is one of the tests they applied for 1194.21D, looking at form elements and whether JAWS could announce the form element properly. And it turned out it could not. And this was the result in the VPAT. We tried to include examples in the VPAT. Now the example here is the expand collapse controls is different from the examples we've seen. This is one of several problems with 1194.21D. The examples aren't exhaustive because there's simply not enough room on the VPAT table. But we try to give a flavor of what kind of problems there are, and this points out that the exceptions are with screen readers. So this was the end result, and the team asked, the development team coming up on the testing is starting to test the next iteration of the VPAT, not iteration, the next the VPAT for the next version. Asked TPG for help specifically in addressing some of the all of the accessibility problems. So TPG conducted the accelerator analysis and produced a document that listed all of the problems found with some explanation of why this was an important accessibility issue, recommendations for remediation, and also includes information on relevant standards and guidelines. So this is typical of what TPG is delivering to the product groups.
Hold on for a second. I just wanted to point out, so when they do these compliance accelerators, first of all, it's kind of a disruption to the team a little bit. It's not like, so they have to provide a build of the product. They've got to make sure that the Paciello Group knows how to navigate through the product. You know, our model has been teams do their own accessibility testing. So when we do this, we've got to bring in outside engineers. They get access to the product, and what they do is they take we give them a VPAT, we give them our sampling documentation, we give our violation reports, give them a screenshots, we walk through the product documentation, is then they use their own methodology to give yet another view of the product, kind of confirm that, yeah, we agree with what you've got on your VPAT, and here is the path to compliance. So when you look at something like this, picture a document, in this case for this product that wasn't that big, that essentially you can use this as your cookbook to get to compliance. We would not do this for a product that is a total mess because it would be just too expensive. It wouldn't be that useful to us because if a product is, you know, hundreds of hours. I had one product team tell me it would be 3 man-years to make their product compliant. They might as well rewrite the whole thing. So we have to be selective around these things. So I approach TPG and say, okay, the next product to do the compliance accelerator is X, Y, and Z, because they've gotten to a level where I believe they need help to get over the line. So that's what's here, and what's here. I just want to be clear about. Yes, question.
What's the time span for, and I guess A would be sort of the bringing TPG up to speed so they can actually do a good test, and then B would be how long does TPG take to?
Right. So the question was, how long does it take to bring TPG up to speed on a particular product, and then how long does it take for them to test? So not that long to bring them up to speed. I think we do like a conference call, a short demo, send them documentation, and they go to it, and they get a contact of who they can call if they have questions. I think it's typically, what, a week, Charlie? About a week?
Yeah, about a week.
Yeah.
To get done.
Yeah, and then for testing, about a week. Yeah.
Depends obviously on the size of the product, but yeah.
For like access control, for example. Yeah.
Did you guys already do clarity?
Yes, we did. You'll get to that in a second.
I was gonna say, how long does that take? That's the one I'm familiar with.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that. We'll keep on going on that.
Hold that question.
Next, yeah.
Okay. So the team set about doing remediation of the forms, and the next time they applied the Watt tool, the form now has properly coded labels. And this will be part of the next release. These results will be incorporated into the next.
Yeah, so to be very clear, this is a screenshot of the Watt test applied to the product that's in final development. The previous was a released product. This is not out yet. So this is a snap of a sneak preview of a product that's a build, literally, to say, okay, we've run the same test on the same screen, and here's the result.
So,
Go ahead.
So next we will talk a little bit about clarity. Now this, did you mandate them to do clarity?
Mandate.
They mandated the TPG analysis for clarity?
I requested it.
Yeah. Okay. So Josh requested it, yes, and the team took him up on it. Now this was a little bit different. This product had not been released in 3 years. Control Minder has a more frequent release schedule. So they were already in QA when the analysis was done. TPG did the same sort of analysis, going through the product and coming up with recommendations. And one of the recommendations is this one. Now, because they were already in QA, not everything got fixed, but now the team has a report that gives them a roadmap to becoming more accessible in future releases.
Right, so that gets the timing for a second. So, you have to time it right, because they have to be available to support the analysis, but at the same time, you also want to, you don't want to do it too early, you don't want to do it too late. So, I mean, I really kind of feel like as the right time to do it is as they're scoping the next release, it seems to be the best time to do it. Get that, and then it gets built into the product plan. These guys were like, help us, and then where are you, by the way? Oh, we're already in QA, all development is done. Okay, well, I'm not sure you're going to be able to do that much to get you over the line. This took longer to do also, because it was a bigger product, more complex, and the development team was constantly coming back to TPG with more questions. We don't understand this. Could you clarify this? And they got on a couple of calls. So I would say it was probably on the longer end than some of the other ones that we've done. Go ahead.
Okay, so the report was delivered, and this is
the old product.
This is a screenshot of the old product with an incorrectly coded modal dialogue, as noted by the Firebug code below, Firebug illustration of the code. And bear in mind that the developers had already had some training, and this is a screen from the developer training, so they knew what the problems were in general, and just needed a little bit more help to get through them. During testing, this is the test procedure for that was carried out for this for the dialogues, and in the new release, this is the end result. It now supports the dialog boxes and other 1194.2d issues, if any, have been remediated, and has that been released? Just released?
Yeah, this is
just
released.
released.
Yeah.
And the current BPAT says supports.
Right. Yep.
And this is the resulting compliant modal dialogue, which visually looks just like the old one. However, it's now coded properly.
Well, no, visually it looks completely different from the old one, but
Well, they did, yeah.
they totally redid the UI,
Yeah.
but the code is different. And so the problem has gone away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Well, the dialog box looks exactly the same going into QA, but coming out with the
Right,
fix it does.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, but now it works, so.
Okay, so back to me. So the future, next slide. So I think you probably got the gist of this from the beginning of the presentation. We would like to make every product 100% compliant. We have 600 plus products that are currently installed and supported throughout our customer base. But it's not possible. So there's sort of three different types of products that CA has. There's products that are what we consider top NCV products, which are products that we are trying to actively sell and have the biggest upside. Then there's products that are sort of are more mature products. They're still in demand, but they're not considered strategic. And then there's products that are completely in support mode. The products are installed. We don't really sell them anymore, but people continue to pay maintenance on these things, especially on some of our mainframe and Unix products. For example, one of CA's products maintains the passport database for the U.S. government. They ain't changing that. But we're also not really building that product up. It's an old mainframe product, but it chugs. It's a processor. That's what these things do. But we are focused on what we call organically built products. We want to make sure they build them right the first time. So using the right technology, the GXT products, making sure all developers go through the training, make sure product managers understand the importance of it. And so we do all this with the training, the standards, policies and procedures. It's still an uphill battle because, and I said this yesterday to the Access Board, probably not a great message at this conference, but to my product managers, accessibility is just another tax. Just like usability, just like installability, they don't feel like it sells products. Now, if you're an accessibility tool vendor like JAWS, well, yeah, that's their feature, that's their function. But for us, we're selling a project management tool. We're selling an enterprise security product. What we're trying to do is to make sure that everybody can use them and that they are accessible, which also makes things more usable for folks. But it is a challenge, no question about it. So what we have is, if you can picture it, you've got a bucket, a backlog of requirements that the market is looking for. Market research says you need this to compete against. Like, for example, Clarity competes against Microsoft Project. Okay? Then you have bugs, defects that are found by customers, performance issues. And then you have all these things that you have to do just because you got to do it, and that includes accessibility. Now, my ally, as the accessibility program owner, actually is the legal landscape. If things become more stringent, if ADA adapts many of the same standards that 508 has, I will have better justification to be able to push this to the top of the priority list. Because like anything else, it's all about the money. So, but I am pushing for it, and we're getting there. And I also have been able to show them that once you get your product to compliance, you will get prioritization, especially in civilian U.S. government. You get fast-tracked through the process. Next slide. So how do we do? Remember I said to you we're going to tell you how we did from 2 years ago? So focus on getting products compliant. Now it's integrated in every product plan. We're doing these audits. Integrating the GXT components into distributed products. There are 50 plus products that are now using this new the UI framework that was built with Sencha. Focus on compliance versus status. Everybody's doing VPATs now. Now we're working on raising that bar. Many products will get there this year. And getting TPG integrated, to me, it's a partnership that is a long-term partnership that we couldn't have done it without them, and we want to continue that and grow it going forward. Next slide. And next slide. Okay, Questions? We also have one more example if people want to see it of something totally different, or we're open to just a discussion. I think we have just a few minutes. 9 minutes. Anybody? Yes, sir.
So essentially, you've outsourced some of this QA work to TPG. Internally, are you doing? Have you built up that capacity? Obviously, you've trained your people, you've developed proper code, but your group per se, the QA, not really QA, but the compliance group, is that growing? Is that going to be?
So let's just be clear. TPG does not do any QA for us. Okay. We haven't outsourced any quality assurance of our products. We bring them in to do these quick audits or compliance accelerators. They're involved in our process and approving our VPATs. They help us to maintain our standards. So I would call them a accessibility partner. But we have over 300 certified VPAT engineers, accessibility engineers now at CA. Yeah, because of the work we've done with TPG.
On their work,
Yeah, and we have 8 certified trainers now around the world. We do most of our accessibility testing over in Prague, China, and India, and those guys, that's where most of those guys are located. So we did they wanted to did a program, and then we trained a couple folks and did another round. We got these people trained the trainer, and it really kind of resonates that way. So we have a community of folks. But the center of excellence is really all about, the model is very much, show them how to do the work, but they got to do it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's always that monitoring, to get the TPG to come in and do an audit, but ultimately, you need that monitoring.
Right, and that's what I have to report back on status to my management. How are we doing overall as a company, and how are different strategic products doing? We do that as well. Yeah.
I think the huge achievement here is driving accessibility into the entire development process.
Yeah.
It is a part of what people are trained to do and must do to get to GA.
Right.
And I think that's big.
That really is, it just makes the end part easier, right? Because you're not sifting through, bad code. You're just sifting through finding the anomaly.
Yeah.
It's a much easier job than doing the rest.
Yeah, but even when you get to that final hurdle and you've got, 5 days of work to finish it up, it's still a battle. It's never over until you finally get there. And then once they get there, like the one product that was compliant, they're very nervous. Now that we're compliant, they're always about, we got to make sure we stay there. We cannot drop back down again. Yeah. Okay.
When you say certification on VPAT developers and trainers, do you mean a TPG certification or a CA certification?
Question was, what do I mean by certification for the trainers and the VPAT testers? We created an internal program. So when I say certified, we give them a little certificate. You've passed the VPAT training. You get on a special list. You're authorized to author VPATs. They've gone through 12 hours of online training, and then they sat through a 2-day class, completed a few tests. They get authorized, and then the trainer program is something relatively new, but that's also important because we can't scale otherwise.